to start by welcoming you all to this online information session for the Advanced Diploma in Local History. My name's Dr Ismini Pells. I'm the course director for this course, and I will be leading you through the session today. We'll start with a little presentation where I will outline some of the details of the course. And then there'll be plenty of time afterwards for you to ask some questions, which I'll do my best to answer. So just a little bit about myself to start with. As I say, my name's Dr Ismini Pells. I'm the course director for this course. I am by trade primarily a military historian. I got my PhD from Cambridge back in 2014. Where my thesis studied the life and career of Philip Skippon, who was commander of the infantry of Parliament's New Model Army during the British Civil War, so back in the 17th century. And why this is important is you can see me there pictured with my dog, just to show you what funny things history can do to you. My dog is called Skippon. He is named after the subject of my PhD. And so my research interest is mainly focused, as I mentioned, on early modern military history, and especially, of course, the British Civil Wars. And my recent research has looked at topics such as military medicine, war trauma, and also the place of children in conflict. Away from work, I try to have a life away from work sometimes. My interests are varied. I particularly enjoy sport, especially cricket and football. I'm a season ticket holder at Ipswich Town for my sins. But I also like spending time outdoors, gardening and walking and that sort of thing. You will get to meet the tutors for this course if you become a student on it. But we have several tutors who work on this course. They are all very experienced local historians, and they've all published widely within the field of local history, and they've also been involved in the teaching of the Advanced Diploma for a number of years now. So they're all very experienced, very friendly, and as I say, hopefully you'll get to meet them if you join us on the course. Itself is a part-time course taught over 1 year, so a 1-year part-time course. It's delivered entirely online, so there's no need for attendance here in Oxford. And the course is due to start in late September 2024. We usually start around about the 3rd week of September. And the course is aimed at the equivalent of a 3rd year undergraduate level. So it's the equivalent, the technical equivalent is what we call an FHEQ level 6, but that's effectively the same as a 3rd year undergraduate degree course. So who is the course for? Well, it's for anyone. We really do have a wide range of students who study on this course. Our only real criteria for this course is that we'd like you to have a demonstrable interest in local history. We don't expect you necessarily to have any formal qualifications in local history. You know, you might not ever have studied history formally either at university or school or anything. That's absolutely fine. We just like to see that you have an interest in the subject. So this might be something like you're a volunteer at a local history site, such as maybe a National Trust property or an English heritage property, that sort of thing. You might be a volunteer at your local archives or study centre or museum. You might be a member of your local history society and attend talks, or maybe you just visit places with a local history connection. But that's the sort of thing we're looking for, rather than any kind of formal qualification. We have students from a wide range of backgrounds, across a wide age range. So we have students who might have just left school at 18 and are looking for perhaps flexible ways to continue their studies. We have many students who are working or perhaps have caring responsibilities and are looking for some kind of study alongside that. And we also have many students who have retired and are perhaps looking to maybe go back to history as maybe a first love they had in the past and never had the chance to study, or maybe it's an interest that has grown on them over the years and it's something that they're looking to, seek fulfillment within their retirement. So a real wide range of ages. And also, of course, the great benefit of this course, as it is delivered entirely online, is it's open to students from anywhere in the world. And we do continually have students from, a wide number of countries across the world. So on our current course, for example, we have students studying from as far away as Lamu in Kenya. We have another student studying from Sharjah in the Middle East. We also, of course, have students from across North America and, of course, from across the United Kingdom as well. And as I say, we're not looking for any kind of formal entry qualification. So this might be your first experience of university study, and that's absolutely fine. The course itself, as you'll see, is divided into two modules, and I'll talk a little bit more about the structure of those modules in a moment. But within each module, the modules are broken down into a number of units. And each unit of the course includes a reading material. We call this sort of lecture notes, but this is reading material that's delivered in a number of ways, along with different types of resources, exercises. These are both individual exercises and group exercises, and also suggestions for further reading. And the course is delivered via an online learning platform called Moodle, which, if any of you have taken online courses in the past, you might be familiar with this. Each unit has its own discussion forum where tutors and students can discuss the topics of that unit within their tutor group. So if you become a student on the course, you'll be broken down into different tutor groups. We typically have between about 3 and 4 tutor groups per course, and these groups will be the primary unit in which you will discuss all the course material. So you'll be able to discuss the course material with your fellow tutor group students, and also with the tutor in charge of that group via these online forums. But we also have a number of general discussion forums, which you can talk about issues that are raised in the course with the cohort as a whole. So you're not just confined to your tutor groups. And we also have what we call common rooms, and these are online forums where you can discuss perhaps just general things of interest that you might have come across, such as you might have seen an interesting documentary on television, or perhaps come across an interesting website that you thought might be of interest to the course, that type of thing. And, perhaps just chat about these sorts of things in a more informal setting. At the moment, the way the course is run is each week there is an online tutorial. We call these our chats because they're sort of more informal than perhaps a formal tutorial would be. At present, these take place in the form of an online chat, like a sort of online chat forum, as it were, live chat that you might see sometimes when you do online shopping, that sort of thing. You get the chance for a live chat. We are possibly looking at changing that format, but that is how it happens at the moment. And then on top of that, we have optional monthly study skills seminars that are run via Microsoft, can't even say that, Microsoft Teams. And that is something that I lead. And these are, as I say, they're not compulsory, but we recognise that many of our students, this might be their first experience of university learning, or for other students, this might mark a return to academic study after some years away. So this is just a chance really to go through some of the nuts and bolts of the course and historical study in an academic setting. So these will cover issues such as essay writing, time management, how to respond to feedback from tutors, that sort of thing. And we'll give you a chance to ask lots of questions on that in a live setting as well, just to help lead you through the course content and make you more comfortable with that. And these sessions will be recorded, so for those who aren't able to attend the session live, they will be able to access the recording afterwards. So the modules, I alluded to this in my last slide. There are two core modules to this course. The first one, module 1, very much looks at the concepts and methods of local history. So this covers subjects like how did local history come into being as an academic subject? What is the history of local history, if you like? How have different scholars approached the subject over the years? How have their approaches differed? What are the different schools of thought that are related to local history? We also look at the types of evidence that we might consider as local history, the types of primary sources. And these include things such as personal testimony, so diaries, letters, memoirs, oral history as well, both written and visual sources as well. And then we'll devote a little bit at the end of module 1 to the relevance of statistics and local history and the creation and use of spreadsheets and databases in local history. And this will set you up nicely for module 2, which I'll come on to in a moment. And then finally, we think about how we might write and publish local history, the different ways that local history is communicated to other people. So looking at module 2, this is primarily focused on the use of databases for local historians. And the reason why this forms a core part of our course is that often as local historians, we're faced with large quantities of data that requires analysis. So, for example, if any of you have perhaps done your family history, say, or have been interested in the history of your local village or town, you will have come across, I'm sure, in the course of your research, large quantities of data in one go. So, for example, you're probably familiar with census returns or maybe voter registrations, that sort of things. And you'll find that, you get large quantities of data where you get perhaps individual names, places of residence, occupation, perhaps household earnings, who lives within a household, that sort of thing. And individually, these entries might not tell us very much on their own, but when you put them together, you can start to build up a picture of a particular local area. You can start to get a sense of perhaps a richer picture of who lived in that area, what types of work they were doing, how social relations were governed, that sort of thing. So that's why we focus on that for module 2. So does it require from you as a student to participate in this course? Well, we recommend that you'll need to devote around maybe 15 to 20 hours a week to study on this course. And obviously that's just a rough ballpark figure. It will vary from person to person. It might vary over the duration of the course. So for example, you might find that you need to put in more hours at the start of the course, but then as the course progresses, you get more familiar with the material and perhaps your speed starts to pick up, that sort of thing. Or maybe you'll find some areas of the course perhaps easier or more challenging, and the number of hours you'll need obviously will reflect that. But by and large, as an average, we reckon it takes around about 15 to 20 hours a week. In terms of the assessment for the course, you will need to produce 5 written assignments on questions that will be set for you by the course. And these vary in length between about 1 and 3,000 words. And these you will submit to us as you know, as primarily Word documents through the online learning platform. And then there's and I should mention for assignment 5, which is the assignment that's particularly linked to module 2, for that you will need to design and analyse your own database, and that will need to be submitted as part of the assignment. But if that sounds really scary, don't worry. Module 2 will take you through how to do that step by step, and you'll be offered all the appropriate support as to what's required for that. And then the final assignment, assignment 6, is one that I think it's fair to say a lot of our students really enjoyed. That's the one I think they particularly look forward to, particularly find, quite a fun exercise. And assignment 6, the final assignment, is we call that the local history project. That's a slightly longer assignment of 5,000 words, but for that you get to pick the topic, and in association with your tutor you will come up with a question, and you can write on anything of interest to yourself. So on that note, you might have noticed that our course is titled the Advanced Diploma in Local History, while all of the other local history courses in the department are labelled English Local History. And the reason for that is we recognise, as we say, this is an online course, and many of our students will have joined us from, perhaps anywhere in the world. And so we would like our course to reflect that. So for that final assignment, you can study the local history of anywhere in the world that interests you, so long as you apply the principles that you have learned across the course of how we analyze and write local history to that particular region. The world is your oyster. You could literally write on the local history of any particular area. I would mention that the course content that you will be offered throughout Module 1 and Module 2 is primarily focused on English local history. But as I say, that final assignment doesn't have to be confined to English local history at all. That can be on the history of anywhere in the world. And just to confirm, there is no written examination for this course. All of the assessment takes place via these 6 assignments. So finally, if there are, you will be obviously invited to ask questions at the end of this presentation, but if there is anything that I haven't covered in this presentation, or you don't get an opportunity to ask in the chat, or perhaps you don't think of until after the event, or maybe you're watching this presentation as part of the recording. And if that's the case, then please do feel free to get in touch with us with further questions. And you can do that either by visiting our website, and the address is there on the slide, or you can also email us or find us on social media. And we're always happy to answer any questions on the course that you might have. But for the meantime, that's the end of the presentation, and I'd now like to invite you to ask any questions that you might have via the online chat. So I'll just stop sharing my presentation with you for the moment. And I will now have a look at some of the questions that I can see appearing here in the chat. Right. Okay, so first up, we have a question here from John. He says, hi, I appreciate there'll be people on the course from different time zones, but what time UK time would the meetings take place? John, that's a really good question. So the simple answer is it will vary between tutor groups and courses, and that is because, as you rightly say, people will be joining the course from different time zones. So what we try to do is we try to organise the tutor groups so that they contain students from compatible time zones, so they don't have students where, you know, there's one person in one time zone and one in another, and there's never a sort of mutually convenient time of the day. So you'll be organised within these tutor groups, and then your tutor will contact you to try and find a mutually convenient time within the group that the chat sessions take place. So the only live element of the course, if you like, are these chat sessions, and these will be organised at a time that's convenient to the tutor and the students within that particular tutor group. So as I say, these will vary across the course, but hopefully they will always be at a convenient time to everyone within that group. I would say, whilst of course we do encourage you to attend as many of those chat sessions as you can, but if for whatever reason you can't attend, and we appreciate, you know, this is a part-time course, many of you will have, you know, busy lives, you might have, you know, jobs, caring commitments, you know, general life things, that sort of thing, that might mean that you aren't able to attend a chat session live. And if that's the case, just to reassure you that the chat sessions are recorded, they're saved, and you will be able to view the transcripts of those after the event as well. So hopefully you can catch up on what has been said, you know, in that session. And like with, as I say, with the study skills sessions, those that take place via Teams, those are recorded and made available afterwards. So if you can't attend anything live, you will always have the chance to catch up. So, next question here comes from Rosemary, and she asks for clarity. Is all communication just via typing chat, or are there actual calls with the tutor students? Yes, so to clarify, at the moment, those chat sessions take place as a typing chat. So you just, the tutor will type in some questions, you can type in questions, and everyone can answer them sort of as and when. And those will take place for an hour every week, as I mentioned in answer to the last question, at a convenient time. The only actual live calls at the moment are those study skills sessions that take place via Teams. However, as I mentioned in the course of my presentation, that is something that we are reviewing, and you might find that changes by the time, if you join us for the next course, that situation might have changed. But for the time being, that is how it happens. Right, next question. Samantha, she says the information about the content of the modules is very helpful. Thank you. You're very welcome, Samantha. but she says, typically, how many words do we have for the assignments? So for the first 5 assignments, they're typically shorter essays. They range between about 1,000 and 3,000 words, so quite short pieces. Was the final assignment, the local history project, that is a longer piece of project. That is 5,000 words in total. So that gives you a bit more of an opportunity to explore that your own chosen topic in depth. Says, does the course give any access to libraries, etc.? Helen, that's a really good question. Yes, absolutely. So as students on a University of Oxford course, you will be given access to all of the University of Oxford libraries. So that includes the Bodleian Library, which is a copyright library, obviously a vast collection, and all of the associated libraries with the university. And we do have our own library here within the Department of Continuing Education as well. Obviously, I appreciate that for many of you, you may not be able to come and visit the libraries in person yourself, although you are very welcome to do so. If you're able to travel to Oxford, then of course you may use those libraries in person. But what the access will also give you is access to all of the library's electronic resources, which obviously will be particularly helpful to those of you who are learning from perhaps, any part of the world. You may not be able to come and see the physical book, but you might be able to come and see the electronic version. So the library catalogue contains a huge, a vast number, actually an ever-increasing number of ebooks, and also on most journal articles are now available online as well. So it will give you access to all of those e-resources and various databases as well. And what I would say is we do make sure that all of the core reading that is recommended to you throughout this course is available to you in electronic form. So you are able to access all of the core material online. So that will either be, we will either have digitized it for you ourselves, and it will be available for you via the online learning platform on Moodle, or we will only recommend works to you for further reading that are available as either ebooks or online journal articles. So you shouldn't be at a disadvantage by studying remotely. Right, Ella says, hi, is there an interview process as part of the application? Thanks. Yes, that's a really good question. Yes, there is an interview as part of the application process. So typically, the way the application process works, and I can confirm to you that applications for next year's course will open on Monday the 16th of October, so very soon. So once that application round has opened, you can submit you'll start by submitting an online application form, and hopefully that's nothing too scary. We just ask for mainly personal details of any studying that you might have done so far to date. We ask for a short personal statement, again, hopefully not too scary, just 300 words, where we're really looking to see your passion for local history. So there's your chance to tell us why you're particularly interested in local history. And again, that might be something such as volunteering at a historical site or being a member of a local history society, that sort of thing, rather than perhaps any kind of formal study. And we'll also look for you to explain why the level of this course, so why the equivalent of a third year undergraduate degree would be appropriate for you. So after the end of the application rounds in February and then in May, if we still have some spaces left on the course, we do have the option to run a further application round in June. And so what will happen at each of those deadline is there will be a sift of the applications that have been submitted as part of that round. And from those applications, if you've been successful with that sift, we would invite you to an interview. And again, that interview will be held online via MS Teams. So again, that can be done remotely. And then after that interview, you will hear, hopefully reasonably quickly, within a week or two after the end of the interview, whether your application has been successful. So Liz says, I am currently studying a BA in Classical Studies and History with the OU and would like to develop my understanding of early modern local history, as I really enjoyed the early modern history. I'm very pleased to hear that, Liz. As a fellow early modernist, that's music to my ears. However, she goes, Liz says, I have young children, and so finding the time to volunteer as well is quite hard. Is this really vital for the application? Absolutely not, Liz. For someone in your circumstance, you wouldn't need to specifically go off and look for volunteering opportunities, as you can easily demonstrate your interest in local history through your current studies. So in your application form, you would just be able to talk about your current degree and the aspects of that you've enjoyed, the aspects that you would like to pursue further, and through that you would be able to demonstrate your interest in local history very easily. So don't worry, you wouldn't have to go off and seek extra volunteering opportunities as well, because as you say, on top of young children and studying, that would be an extra burden. So rest assured, your current studies would be sufficient to demonstrate your interest in local history. Charlotte says, when applying for the course, do we need referees? Yes, absolutely. That's a really good question. So as part of the application form, you would need to supply 2 referees. And it wouldn't be just their names and details. We would need those references submitted as part of the application form. However, don't worry, these can be referees from a number of different contexts. If you are currently studying or have recently studied, then yes, of course, those referees might be academic referees, but they don't have to be. Referees could perhaps be work colleagues, or someone that you have, maybe if you're volunteering, perhaps the volunteer coordinator, or a fellow volunteer, or someone who, is related to the organisation that you're volunteering for. It could be maybe someone within your community who perhaps knows you very well. It could be from any sort of number of contexts. There's no sort of specific one context that we're looking for. The main thing that they need to be able to do is to comment on your interest in local history and your suitability for the course. So that's the main thing to bear in mind when thinking who to approach to act as a referee. John has another question. He says, you mentioned that there are other local history courses offered. Can you give a brief overview of the differences? Yes, so that's a really good question. So the course that obviously we're talking about today is the Advanced Diploma in Local History, which is the equivalent of a third year undergraduate course that's offered online. We also offer what's just called the Undergraduate Diploma in Local History, in English Local History. And that is the equivalent of a second year undergraduate degree course. So it's a slightly lower level than what we're talking about today. That is an entirely in-person course. So you would be expected to attend classes here in Oxford, and those take place over about 6 weekends in a year. That course is also taught part-time, but over the duration of 2 years. And it's also, as the name suggests, again, focused primarily on English local history. We also offer the MSc in English Local History. So that's a master's course, that's a postgraduate qualification. So that, of course, would be a slightly higher level than the advanced diploma. Again, that is an in-person course that is taught over 2 years part-time, and that does require attendance in Oxford, and that does have weekly classes that you would need to attend in the department. And again, that is focused primarily on English local history. So hopefully that answers your question there, John. We have another question here that says, what further studies can this course lead to in Oxford, e.g. an online master's course? So yes, as I mentioned, there are many other courses that you can go on to, either here in Oxford or at other universities. So many of our students who have completed the advanced diploma do go on to study for the MSc in English Local History. We also offer other postgraduate qualifications, such as the postgraduate certificate in historical studies. And that's a little bit of a halfway house between an undergraduate degree and a postgraduate degree. So that is, again, a part-time course that's delivered over 1 year. But again, that does require in-person attendance in Oxford for a series of intensive weekends. And if you complete that postgraduate certificate in historical studies and you achieve a certain level, you are able to go on to study for the MLit, which is a master's course, which again is delivered in intensive in-person courses in Oxford, part-time, over the duration of a year. At present, we don't have any online master's courses in local history here in the department, but many of our students do go on to study for masters online at other universities. So, for example, we have students who are on last year's courses who've gone to study for online masters at both the University of Lancaster and the University of Edinburgh. And they've been able to study for those courses online. And that does then, of course, give you the option you might want to return to the department afterwards. We do offer, advanced postgraduate degrees such as DPhils. And again, the way that those can be studied for can be quite flexible. So Paul has asked about the timeline for the application process. So if you have an interview, how likely would you be able to hear back soon afterwards? I think I've sort of probably covered that in the answer to an earlier question, but basically you have, as I say, we have the 2 application rounds a year, which close in February and May, with the option for a further round which closes in June. The sift of the applications take place pretty soon after the closure of those application rounds, and if you're invited to interview, you should hear pretty soon after the closing of those rounds. And as I mentioned, after the end of the interview, you would hopefully get a decision on the outcome of that interview within a week or 2 of that taking place. So once the application round has closed, and you might, if you're very keen and you submit an application when it opens in October, obviously you have a little while to wait until February when the first round closes. But the turnaround once that application process round has closed, the turnaround is quite quick. Ella has asked, can you go straight to a postgraduate degree with this diploma, or will you need to complete an undergraduate degree? No, Ella, you can go straight to a postgraduate degree with this diploma. And as I mentioned, many of our students who've done the advanced diploma do go straight on to other postgraduate qualifications, such as master's programmes, either here in Oxford or elsewhere. You don't have to complete the full undergraduate degree. There is a recognition that if you've studied to the equivalent of a final year of an undergraduate degree, you are capable of studying at that level. You've proven that you can achieve at that level. One thing I would mention is that you can gain what's known as CATS points for studying on this course, and these are points that can be either combined sometimes with other qualifications or used as an entry point onto further studies. So you often see, if you're looking at maybe applying for postgraduate qualifications elsewhere, they will advertise that you need a certain number of CATS points to gain admission to that course, and so points gained on this course can be used to gain admission to other courses as well. Richard says, I'd like to do a local history project for my community in Cape Town, celebrating our centenary. Richard, that would be absolutely fantastic. That is something that I certainly would really welcome. I think the tutors would find really interesting on this course. As I mentioned, there'd be absolutely nothing to stop you doing your final local history project on the history of Cape Town. So long as you apply the principles that you learn over the duration of this course to the local history of Cape Town, absolutely, that's something that you could study for that final assignment, and something that I think would make for a fantastic assignment. Ella says, how competitive are the applications, and do you have any tips for making a good or competitive application? So of course it is a competitive process. We do have to sift the applications, the paper applications that are, well, they're made online, but the application forms that are submitted to us. And then, of course, we do have to decide on the outcome of the interview process as well. So there are a number of levels of rounds of competition, if you like, that you do have to go through to gain admission to the course. But in terms of tips for making a good or competitive application, I would say the one thing we're really looking for is your passion for the subject. That's the thing we really like to see shine through in your application. It's the thing that makes the application process really enjoyable. Reading through those applications, when you come across candidates who have a real obvious sense of a love of the subject. So that's the main thing I think I'd say we were really looking for. Rowena asks, how many credits is this course worth? Yes, that's a really good question. I mentioned about the CATS points that you can gain from this course. The CATS points that are available for this course, we are 60, so you gain 60 CATS points for completing this course, and as I say, you can put those towards admission to other courses as well. So 60 CATS points. Right. We have one more question here. Alice says, what support is available for neurodiverse students at Oxford? Alice, that's a really good question. We are often asked about support that's available for students, different support that's available. That is something that we are absolutely able to offer. So we have a student an advisory service, which if you have issues that you think might affect your studying here at Oxford, or you'd like to make us aware of, or things you'd like us to take into consideration, that's something we do recommend that you, if you're accepted onto the course, you do register with them at the first available opportunity, because obviously it does take a little bit of time for the process to work through. But what is able to happen as a result of that is you will be linked up with a student support officer, and they will be able to draw up with you, and it's all done in conversation with you as a student, what's known as a student support plan. And this is something that will be shared with your tutors and with me as course director. And that will make us aware of any issues, and it will recommend to us adjustments that we should make to your study on the course that will help you through the course. So it recommends adjustments to us that we can make. It also perhaps provides you with some information about things that you can access as well from your perspective, that will make your study on the course more easy. I would say if you have any further questions on that subject, and perhaps there are issues that you might not want to discuss publicly, you might not want to obviously talk about in front of other people, that's absolutely fine. And again, please do feel free to contact me about that afterwards, and that's something that I can discuss with you, you know, in just directly with you, and it doesn't have to be shared with everyone else. So do feel free to get in contact with me if you have any further questions about student support plans and that sort of thing. It's well, I don't think we have any more questions unless anyone has got anything further to add. No, so I think, well, it just falls to me to say thank you very much for attending this information session. I hope you found it useful. To those of you watching the recording, again, I hope you found it useful as well. And like I've said throughout the presentation, if anyone has any further questions that they would like to ask, please do feel free to get in contact with us, and we will get back to you on those. But for the meantime, I just want to say thank you very much for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye.